Hi cuties and welcome to another day of Litmas! Today we're going to talk about all the indie books that I read this year up until recording this. I have quite the backlist, I will say, but I did manage to read a bunch. So, I don't know how many, 38. And technically I actually have more, but two of them are not actually out yet and there's no covers. One of them is actually, they're both by Tycho. I just realized they're both by Tycho. I read Mirror Gaze, which is going to be up on, is already up on Wattpad. The sequel to Court of Snakes, which is being released in a different means, but I did read it and I did really enjoy both of those. So just honorable mentions there. The rest are ones that I had covers for. So we're going to be tier ranking them, talking about them all a little bit while someone chews on a Demogorgon head behind us. These are in no particular order. They are just in the order that the thing imported them. So we have A Drop of Magic by L.R. Braden. This is an urban fantasy. It's hard now to remember everything that happened, but I know that she is a half-fae, unregistered sort of situation, and she has metal magic, because the thing is metal smithing, which is very rare for a fae, since usually iron is evil. So I'm going to put this one at a fun time. It was a fun time. I enjoyed it. I wasn't obsessed with it or anything, but it was very fun. I don't recall any like big glaring things that I hated about it or anything. It was just a fun time, you know? Next up is Bored Gay Werewolf by Tony Santarella. I did read this as an arc. And this was also, I'm going to say, a fun time. It was fun. Again, not obsessed. It had a lot of good moments. It had a lot of things that I didn't enjoy as a reader, but that was just purely a taste standpoint. It wasn't a problem for the book itself. Like, the main character is very promiscuous, I would say, and I never understood the trope of, like, getting together with somebody that you didn't actually like, and things go awry with that. The big finale is fantastic, but yeah, it was a fun time. It was a crazy, weird time, but I do recommend this one for just a fun bored gay werewolf time. Then we have All Things Lost by D.L. Bunch. This one, I should have made a tier right between these two. I'm going to put it on Could Use More Work. I don't actually think it needs more work, but it wasn't at the level of a fun time that these guys were. So it had just some concepts that I didn't vibe with. It had just moments that I was like, there is some animal death that I didn't appreciate, and there's a lot of confusion. So maybe that's where it like could use more work, is just cleaning up on its developmental editing a bit, I guess, because I was very confused, especially near the end of it. There's a lot of flipping timelines and things, so it didn't totally vibe with me, but it is this kind of post-apocalyptic situation, so if you're into that, you might enjoy it more than I did. All right, next up, we have King of Dust. I'm going to put this at Adore This. I adore this. This is a book from Tycho. It's really, really fun. I think the only reason I'm not putting it at the give them all the money, because you should give Tycho all the money, is it's too short for me. It's too short and I need more. That's my complaint. I really did enjoy this one though. It's so fun. It's one of my favorites. I don't think it's my absolute favorite. We'll get to that one. But it is one of my favorites that Tycho has written. It's about a queer vampire he's the vampire king, but he's really, really bad at his job because he spent too much time obsessing over his lost love and waiting for her to reincarnate. And when she does and doesn't reciprocate, things go awry, and he goes off to try to uncurse himself with a group of interesting folk, I'll say. Next up, we have The Prince of Fishes by Susanna Rowantree. This was a small little guy. I'm also going to put this as a fun time. It was a fun time. I think there's 6 of these little tiny baby books. They're all different kind of fairy tales. This one was okay. I kind of remembered the fairy tale as I was reading it, but I don't know. Actually, you know what? I am going to move this down to Could Use More Work, because I don't know if it fully satisfied me in terms of reading because of how the characters were. So I'm actually going to put that down there because it's not exactly a true fun time for me. I read other ones that were a true fun time. Next up, we have Gift of Air by C.L. Carhart. This one as well, I'm going to put in a fun time. It was a fun time. I don't think I'm going to continue the series, though. This is kind of a prequel, and it's set way back in the past with this girl who has these magical abilities, and people are trying to sell her off, basically, and she goes into an engagement with somebody else who's like, I'll be, you know, at least a decent person to you. And they end up falling in love. But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it had a really interesting means of magic and communication. And I thought it was really, really fun. But then the first book's in it is like modern urban fantasy time. And I'm like, you know, I'm really not vibing with urban fantasy as of late. So I think I'm just going to leave it with that one. So it was a fun time, fun prequel. You probably heard me talk about this before. Story Spun in Scarlet by R. Dugan. I am absolutely obsessed with this. Give them all the money because I'm obsessed. Story Spun in Scarlet, R. Dugan. It's a big chunky book, I will say. It's a great slow burn. It's a clean romance. It's got great fun magic. Magic is storytelling. And there's this great mystery and kind of an amnesia thing, but not totally, not for everything, but it's very cool unraveling of what happened and how they got here. And I just adored this. I adored it so much that I went and found the fancy, like, dazzling bookshop edition of it. And I had to get that. It's so beautiful. I just love this. I cannot recommend this story enough. It just, I found it on a whim too, because I think the arc on NetGalley, and I'm like, this sounds interesting. So I have no connection with R. Dugan, nothing at all. I just absolutely love this story, so please go read this. Now, Court of Snakes by Tycho. This one I'm going to put in Give Them All the Money, because I also adored Court of Snakes. Court of Snakes is my current favorite of all of Tycho's work right now. I love this very interesting dystopian land where they live in this kind of walled-in city in the desert. They're all struggling to survive under this hierarchy. There's oppression. There's also tarot magic. And there is a coup that kind of happens and leaves our heir to the throne stuck in the slums now, and he's training with this kind of rebel figure. And then the other main character, there's two POVs. Parisa is the daughter of the new, like, usurper, and she's trying to, like, prove herself to her father, even though he wants nothing to do with her and sends her off to go train with basically magic marines, and a lot ensues in this one. It's really interesting, kind of political dystopian, and if you like things like Legend by Marie Lu, I would say you will love this, because it gave me Legend vibes and a little bit of, I'd say, or like first era Mistborn. It's those kinds of vibes with, like, the heroes and stuff. So if you like those books, you will likely like Court of Snakes. Next up, we have another Give Them All the Money. I want a movie of this so bad. The Witchstone by Henry H. Neff or something like that. I think that's right. Absolutely love this. This was so funny. We have a demon who's very bad at his job, and he's supposed to get this family to basically continue their curse, or, like, to not continue their curse, well, yes, continue, but also to, like, get their morale down. That's his job, while pretending that he's helping them break the curse. And just him running around the world with this surly teenager and her little tiny brother who tags along, and just absolute chaos ensues. I loved this. I loved this so much. Okay, if you don't want to read Neil Gaiman anymore because of all the allegation stuff going on, read this instead, because this will give you those vibes of, like, Good Omens that doesn't have a problematic author attached to it right now, as far as I know. But is so good. It's so good. So can't recommend it enough. Want a movie so bad. I love Laszlo so much. I would definitely go into business with Laszlo. Next up, we have Maiden of Artemis by Eloise Barr. This one I'm going to put in could use more work. I definitely think this one literally could have used more work when I was reading it. I did read it as an arc, so maybe it did get more work after the release. I liked the first like third of it, and then it really got confusing, and I didn't totally follow everything. It felt like it jumped around on these characters. It was a weird time for the second half of the book. So that one, I just felt like it could use more work. I didn't totally love it. All right, and the first one going into WTF did I just read? Merchants of Knowledge and Magic by Erica McCorkle. This has a lot of really rave reviews, and I don't understand it. This was so weird. It's like these weird eldritch creatures fantasy. It's very weird fantasy. But it has like a character that has basically a refrigerator. They're a walking refrigerator, but not like a refrigerator. They're a physical fleshy being, but they have like a kangaroo pocket situation that's great for transporting cold things. I don't know. It was weird. There's also a lot of adult content in this. There was like a matriarchal society with a lot of smexy slaves and stuff that didn't make sense to me. There was a lot of things that happened with these characters that didn't make sense for their character, or like, we're going to make it. It seemed like they were going to make this a big thing, and then it just, with a snap of a spell, everything's fine again. Nobody needs to worry about it. And so there weren't really repercussions. And then it was trying to sell you on this relationship that when one of them is unalived at the end, they just kind of get over it in 2 seconds. And that did not make sense to me at all. It was so weird. It was just really, really weird. And I can't recommend it. It was just so weird. It was weird in a bad way and not in a good way. So moving on. The Trouble with Ghosts by A.L. Kessler. I do adore this series here, Witchy Witchy. This is the this is the third one. Excuse me. I'm mad at this one. Hold on. I'm mad. I'm going to grab the other here, Witchy Witchy 2, and put them both together. So Deathly Magic is the second one. This one I adore. I don't want to put this as a fun time because I'm mad at the ending, Amy. But I will be continuing this series. This is an urban fantasy that I actually do like. It's kind of like, if you don't like Dresden because of the chauvinistic nature of Dresden, you read this instead, because it's similar in the vein that it is kind of like Magical Cops. We have our main character who works for a kind of magical FBI and investigating magical murders and stuff, and has a really, a kind of interesting relationship with a werewolf, and has a cool partner who was introduced in the first one, a new partner. And the girl goes through some stuff. She goes through so much all the time. But the ending of the third book, how dare you? Literally saw Amy for the first time after reading that one at a convention, and I chased her down the hallway because I was so upset, and she ran. I personally know Amy, just for anyone. I don't do this to authors. I'm people I don't know. Amy's a friend. So, yeah. I am mad at Amy, but I also love Amy. I think these are really great, really good fun time, but I can't put it in the top tier until some things are resolved, and I will have to see how that is with the rest of the series. Next up, Unmasked by Kendra Merritt. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. I love this book so much. This is Neurodivergent Rep, Prince and the Pauper. But let's put some Prince and the Pauper in your Prince of the Pauper. Okay? This is one of the latest book in the Mark of the Least series by Kendra. I don't know how many books are in the series in total, but there's so many, and they're so good. I love each and every one of them. They can all be read as standalones, but if you read By Winged Chair first, that one really sets up everything, I would say. Or reading the novella After the Darkness, because that's kind of a prequel to By Winged Chair in a sense. But By Winged Chair really sets up the whole world and everything. And then you can read anything out of order. But Unmasked was just so delightful, so wonderful, so relatable. It's great. It's absolutely great. I cannot recommend this enough. The romance is so sweet. The story is so great. The little sidekick creatures are amazing as well. Just read these books. Read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair. I'm going to put this down here. I don't think I like Scarlett St. Clair's writing. There was too much dubious consent in this. There was like, these characters were so thirsty. And this is a short book, okay? It's short. And it was too much. I was hoping for a nice Beauty and the Beast retelling. But oh dear God, that was a lot. That was too much for my ace brain to handle. So it goes down here because I just really, really, really didn't like it. But if you like spicier content, you might like this a lot. But again, the dubious consent. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. All right, next up we have Bound by Fate and Blood by Jenna O'Malley. I put this as could use more work. Personally, I thought there was a lot of gaps. It needed some editing. It needed not like proofreading editing, but I think again some more developmental editing. I just had a rough time connecting with the characters. I had a rough time kind of following what was going on. So I don't have a ton to say about this one, but I definitely think it could use a lot more improvements to really make the core story shine a lot more. But it didn't feel totally organic to me, I'd say. Then we have The Bells of Paradise. This is another of the short stories by Susanna Rowantree. This one, you know what? I am going to put it here too. I think I liked A Prince of Fishes more than Bells of Paradise. So Bells of Paradise, it just had really unlikable characters for me. And I didn't care for them. That was mostly what it is. It's not like it needed editing and stuff. I guess this could use more work, is kind of like either it needs editing or unrelatable to me. I guess that makes it, it's not exactly a WTF did I just read. It's just, I didn't like them. So it's a weird tier. Don't take these tiers as literal with the titles. Next up we have Phoenix Child by Alicia McKenna Johnson. This is kind of, I'm gonna put it here. I really didn't like this one either. I thought it was very basic in a lot of stuff. It had a few good moments, but overall it felt like it wanted to be every other YA hit out there, but didn't craft it well. I didn't like this one. Especially by the end of it, I was like, what is going on? Also, we have Unicorn Shifters, which is no shade. That's a little weird, but okay, let's go with it. But it's also got this kind of circus aspect to things, which was very interesting. But overall, everything happens very fast. It doesn't feel very organized, and I just really didn't like it. It could use more work, but I'm going to put it down here because I think these ones overall are more developed than this one was, for my taste at least. Next up, we have Chimera by Lena. Oh my God, this is good stuff. Thank you to everybody who did help support Lena's launch on this one. I read this a long time ago. So technically, oh no, I did read it this year. I was a beta. And it's so interesting. It's sci-fi horror mystery, kind of whodunit in space, and it's fantastic. If you want more, and it's a novella, so if you want a short read, here you go. But if you want these very interesting characters stuck on a ship together, and horrific things be happening, and everyone's pointing fingers and that stuff, this is a book for you. This is great. I loved it. It was really, really good. Lena's very, very talented. I cannot wait for the next book that she has planned to come out. So, yeah. Next up, we have The Gay Teen's Guide to Defeating a Siren by Cody Wagner. I'm going to put this at Adore This. It's not going to get up to here. It almost would. Simply for that ending. Simply because I'm mad at that ending. Otherwise, I love this. This is a story about a kid who's in Texas who is discovered as gay by his parents, and they send him away to a kind of pray away the gay camp, even though actually it's not. It pretends to be one of those, but it's actually a place where all these gay kids can be themselves, can grow and learn and heal from the trauma of their parents kind of rejecting them in that sense. And all the while, there is this supernatural creature, the siren, that is kind of infecting minds with hatred. So it's really great that way. And there is a seeker who is able to kind of point out who's been affected by the siren. And the great thing is our main character is not the chosen one in this situation. He is a friend of the chosen one. And I really liked that. But then we have the ending and it made me so upset. And I was so sad. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything else, but I was sad. So something really bad happens. So I'm going to read this next two in it, but I don't know how I'm going to get through without that character, man. That's my favorite character. Daughter of No One by Sam Liddell. I'm also going to say that I adored this. This was very interesting. I just did a mini review of this one, so if you didn't see that already, go check that out. I like this. This was a fantasy. I do think it needs a new cover. I did say that in the review because the cover is giving mystery thriller to me, not high fantasy, sapphic high fantasy, which is what this is. We have a princess who really wants to explore and get out there and do something, but she's very sheltered. And her brother is getting the chance to kind of go out and do the things, even though he's also been pretty sheltered. But there's, coups afoot and things, but all the while there is another character, Jason, who is an odium child. She is basically a bastard child, and that's illegal, and you don't get any rights or anything, but she has a little half-sister who is legitimate and is very, very sick, and so she's trying to appeal to the courts to allow, to have the queen come heal her, because the queen is a great healer, but she meets the princess on the way, and things happen, and they have a kind of connection that's very slow burn, but the princess eventually gets kidnapped, so Jason thinks, okay, if I go save the princess, we can fix some things. Shenanigans ensue, and I'll leave it at that, because it is a full, complete trilogy, and I need the next book ASAP. All right, we have The Lamplighter by Crystal J. Bell, I believe, and this one, obsessed. I'm obsessed with this one. It's so atmospheric. It is a mystery. We have these women going missing. There is this crazy fog happening where things are bad, and our main character's father it is shown that he is not shown, but it's said that he unalived himself, and now his daughter has taken on the role as the lamplighter, which is very important with this dangerous fog. And all the while, her younger sister is basically trying to get engaged with a guy that is not a good guy, basically. And people are just not believing her. They're thinking she's a bit more insane. So you get a little bit of rage along with the character. You really feel their emotions along with squeaky Triceratops toys. That's in the book as well. I didn't know if you guys knew that, but it is. But it's so good. It has a very emotional ending, and it's just wild. It's a wild time. Highly recommend this one. Highly, highly, highly. Oh, speaking of highly recommends, it's The Circus Infinite by Kong Wong. Okay, we have 2 circus books. One amazing, one not. Just amazing. This is space. We have an ace character. We have a ton of queer characters, actually. We have all kinds of weird alien creatures performing in this circus. We are trying to hide from oppressive figures and learning more about our own abilities. It's got this just an absolute great found family cast, and I need a sequel so bad. I actually commented on the Goodreads going, can we have a sequel? And Kong Wong replied, only if the publisher wants it. And I'm like, but you're indie, you could just do it yourself because it's really good. Please, Kong Wong. Please. Yeah, absolutely adored The Circus Infinite. Please go read it. Please go read it. Oh, look, another Kendra Merritt. Now, this one I'm going to put at adore this. Okay? I'm putting it at adore this because I didn't love it as much as Unmasked. So this is the prequel I was mentioning before. It's called After the Darkness. And this is what happened in the world with magic when magic basically crumbled everything. It went away, and the whole world had been built upon magic. Which, in a sense, it's kind of think about the internet is magic, and if we lost the internet, our entire infrastructure, everything would go down, right? That's kind of what happened. And so the people, the sorcerers and stuff who have magic, they're the ones to blame, and this girl was training in this school and has severe trauma, like severe PTSD from this, but is reunited with her family at least. And they're all just trying to survive kind of in this post-apocalyptic world and rebuild and try to keep their daughter safe. She's trying to keep people like her safe in this new kind of town that they're building. But of course, things don't go the way that we've always planned. So it was really, really good. I just didn't love it as much as Unmasked. Okay. Then we have an incarnation of Shadow and Light. Ooh. This is by S.A. Christensen. And I'm going to put this at a fun time. It was a very, very fun time. I don't know if there is a sequel coming or not. I hope there is. But it's kind of this world where these two people who have these abilities, special abilities, give them the right to rule, basically. But then that rule is contested, and they go on the run because basically a big coup happens, and they're trying to kind of regain their throne, also while kind of regaining their sense of selves, and getting tricked into a lot of things, discovering who's the real bad. And it's a very interesting time. It was more fun. There were some parts of it that I was like, oh, okay, I don't get none of that. So it's hard to describe what exactly I didn't like, because overall it was great and fun. It just didn't necessarily hit the marks that I wanted it to, but that's just a taste. That's just my personal taste. So next we have Shake Off the Ghost by Miranda Newfield. This was also a fun time. It is a rom-com with a little itty bitty bitty teeny tiny bit of paranormalness. This is about a girl who has gone all the way to Scotland to house sit, but she got the job through this guy that she's been like talking to online, but he turns out to just be a flaky loser. And she's just asked to stay in this super creepy, decrepit castle. All the while, another guy shows up who is the son of the person who lived in this castle, and things are a little bit wonky with inheritance law. And she's actually a really good like DIY fixer-up. Her dad was a contractor and stuff, so she knows a lot about home repair. And so she kind of takes on that task of helping him repair the house, even though she's not supposed to. And of course, a romance blooms between them, but she has seen a ghost and also has a cute cat in this story. A lot of shenanigans ensue. There was a really funny moments that happened in this. But yeah, overall, it was a fun time. It was just a fun time. You know, good stuff. Next, we have Ghosts of the Catacombs by Jana Ruth, I believe. Gosh, I'm really bad at reading these names, but I think it's Jana Ruth. This one I am also going to put it as a very fun time. This is about a girl who can see ghosts as well in Paris, and she kind of gets roped into exploring the catacombs for a ghost, because this ghost says that there's something that she needs for her daughter, and you need to go find her body. But you know, ghosts can lie. But what I really love is that she's like best friends with Victor Hugo in the museum, and that's been really good stuff. I did call the twist in this one. Don't know how that's gonna work out for us in the rest of the series. I do intend to read the rest of the series though, because it was very fun. It had some moments that were kind of like, okay, tropey, but there's also an amazing hedgehog, and the hedgehog deserves full cover art. So I will say that. So if you want just a fun romp in the Parisian catacombs with a hedgehog, go for it. Next up, we have Experimental Magics by Alex Evans. I'm going to also put this at a fun time. This was a very unique and interesting kind of steampunky sort of world, I would say. And it has this professor who is studying kind of the origins of their magic, but she's looked down upon. With this one, there is a event that happens where another professor that she sort of knows was unalived, and then kind of appears to her in a different form that I wish had taken more of a forefront in the story. It came in a little bit late for me, and I would have liked a lot more romping together with our main character and this thing. It's really funny. There's a lot of action in this one as well, in terms of like near-death experiences for the main character. Just a really interesting theories. I think the world building is what's really sold me on this one the most. So I liked this a lot. I wouldn't say I adore it, but I had a really fun time reading it. Next up, we have The Silent Prince by C.J. Brightly. This is a reverse Little Mermaid. Again, this is a fun time. This is a fun time. It's silly. It's got a very kind of narcissistic, in a fun way, prince, our mermaid prince, basically, and it's just so fun. It was a silly, silly time. If you wanted a good gender-bent Little Mermaid retelling, this is a fun one. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a fun time. That's pretty much what I can say about it. Put all the Brady Von Althuses. I have The Gullible Ghost Hunter here. This is another Tycho story. I'm going to put this as adore this. I do love the entire series. I finished the whole series, so I'm just putting this one up there because they're all pretty much, I adore them all. I think probably Dastardly Jinn is my favorite of them, which is the third book, but I really like the Brady Von Althus series. So it is a 5-book middle grade series about a boy who is a very normal boy, very abnormal family. His dad is a demon bar guest. His aunt is a swamp witch. His grandmother is this puppet. His cousin has a kind of spinning cube block for a head, and his name is Blockhead. We love Blockhead. He's my favorite. He has a poltergeist ghost of an uncle named Uncle Rollo, and shenanigans. So much shenanigans. It kind of has that Addams Family vibe, but it's a good fun time. Highly recommend it. Good stuff. Next up, we have The Umbral Storm, and I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna have to put this here, and the reason I'm putting this here is that this felt like Stormlight Archives fan fiction, and I mean it almost literally, because the characters, some of them seemed really, really similar to a lot of characters, and then we have also these shards, which feel very similar to the shards in Stormlight Archives. I'm not saying that this was plagiarism or anything. I am saying it was heavily inspired, though, and the cover makes no sense to me because that weapon never appears. But a lot of dynamics and stuff in this book just really was like, this is Stormlight. This is Stormlight. I'm reading Stormlight right now. So I didn't feel that this was truly original, and I didn't like it. Sorry. Next up, we have The Fall That Saved Us by Tamara Jarre, and it's a little bit between for me. I think this could use more work because this is an angel demon, or kind of half angel Nephilim demon relationship book, and I don't think it was particularly great in terms, like, it's very insta-love, and I felt like we did a lot more with the demon than we did with the Nephilim, and the demon just kind of has a 180 flip very quickly that I didn't totally believe. There was a lot of spicy moments in this that I'm like, what? You what? So I was uncomfortable with this. I really didn't like this. I think if it was longer and we had a better development of the relationship, I would have enjoyed it more. But I felt like I read two separate books, because what happened in the second half of the book, it also ended very abruptly with that, and I don't feel like we got the arc for the Nephilim character that we should have. And actually, I don't think we got the arc for the demon didn't have a true arc either. It was just a 180, and that was it. We didn't explore their side. We explored a lot more of the Nephilim side, actually, now that I'm remembering more. Yeah, it didn't do it for me. Next up, we have The Last Spy Hunter by Salome Goldenberg. I'm so sorry for the squeaking that's about to come right now. This one as well, I think could use some more work. I think the wrong POVs were chosen for this story. I didn't understand why one of the POVs happened. I just do not think I really just don't think the right POVs. There was a POV that we should have had. There was also some very confusing continuity stuff between what one of the characters was saying in the beginning of the book, and then halfway through the book they were saying something else. And I was like, wait, but you said this in the beginning, and I'm very confused by this now. But that particular character should have been the POV, and then maybe we would have we would have understood their reasoning for all of that and stuff. Next up, we have The Crew by Sadir S. Samir. This one I'll put at a fun time. It was a fun time. If you like Deadpool and you want Deadpool in a high fantasy situation, that's what this book is, basically. It was a fun time. I wasn't totally invested in it at all. It ended before I could answer the questions that I had about certain stuff, so it was just a fun time. I'm going to make myself a little smaller since we're kind of going into that territory, our level 3 here. Next up, we have A Thief in the Night by K.J. Charles. I actually kind of think I adore this one. It's on the lower end of adore. It's short, which is why it's kind of on the lower end of adore. But it is dumb boys who are in love with each other and putting up with each other. We have kind of a con artist situation where he becomes a valet to our main guy, who is in, again, a very decrepit house and trying to recover all the things that his horrible father did. And there's a lot of good banter between them. It was really, really good. It's a fun time, but I do kind of adore it a little bit more because I think KJ Charles writes really well. Speaking of which, we also read Any Old Diamonds by KJ Charles. And again, I adore this one. I think A Thief in the Night and Any Old Diamonds, they kind of blend into the same book at some points for me. So it's a little hard to tell them apart, but I know I really enjoyed them both. Any Old Diamonds is a little bit longer and again has really dumb characters doing dumb things and getting into trouble with each other and just having a crazy time. It's fun. It's fun. I think I really love the backstory of one of the characters, and I think there might be a sequel that involves meeting up with some of those characters, or there's a prequel or something that deals with the siblings of one of the characters, and I would definitely be interested in reading that one. Yeah. All right, next up we have Don't Be a Drag by Sky Quinlan, and this one, it's kind of teetering between these two. I'm gonna put it at adore this. The reason I'm not putting it as just a fun time, or why it almost went into a fun time, is the actual romance that happens I didn't totally enjoy. It's the type of characters that they were, and I'm like, okay. I would have preferred us to have gotten together with a different character, but I am hoping Sky Quinlan writes another book from that character's point of view and showcases their relationship that's sort of hinted at the end. But this is about a young girl who is visiting her drag queen brother, and she has severe depression. And I will trigger warn you, if you have severe depression as well, this book might trigger you. It definitely triggered me into a bit of a depressive state for a while, only because it was so relatable that it kind of triggered my brain into being in that same mindset during this part of the book. But I think it's a very important part, especially for those who don't suffer from depression, to kind of understand how it can come up and how it can happen, how it can last, and what it does to us. So I thought that was an excellent portrayal of someone with severe depression. But this main girl, she gets into kind of the drag king scene, which I really love that this was focusing a lot on drag kings, because I don't think a lot of people know that drag kings exist. For one, it's usually drag queens are much more out there, but drag kings is this thing. I have a friend who's a drag king, and I think it's just cool seeing that side of the world on that, and it's really good. So I really did enjoy this. I just didn't like that romance. I glad that we did get a little bit more insight into it, but I still don't necessarily think that couple is necessarily going to survive. You know, All right, we have our final book, Providence Girls by Morgan Dante. And this is a tricky one. It's between a fun time and I wouldn't say a fun time either, because it's kind of a depressing book in general. Like, it's not like a happy fun time, but it's decent. I'm going to put it in could use more work, only because I couldn't tell the difference between the two main characters, because we have a switching POV, we have a few time jumps, and I could never keep them straight. They're gay, get it? But I couldn't keep it in my mind who the POV was, so they felt like very similar characters. And so I think it could use more work with developing those characters more, at least for me. Maybe I'm just a bad reader, I don't know. But for my taste, I felt them to be very same. I did think there was a lot of really good points in both women's stories exploring. They're both having these kind of traumas and stuff, and it is kind of a sad story. It's a little bit hopeful by the end, but it lost me so often because I spent so much energy going, who's talking? Who is this character? Whose POV are we in? Why? What? And that's where it kind of it really lost me on that sense. So, unfortunately. Okay. Well, that's the layout. I think this is actually pretty good. We have a decent amount. We have 7 books in this top tier and 10 in the second tier. That's pretty good. We had a fun time with, let's see, 9 books. Fun time with 9 books. And in total, that's 12 books in total that I'm like, I didn't enjoy or just like needs more work done to it. So overall, we had a better time with indies than not. And I do intend to be reading a ton more. There was a bunch on my TBRs this year that I just did not get to. So I'm hoping within the next few months to finish those and get you those mini reviews. Because I do, if you don't know, I do mini reviews we do really super mini ones on TikTok, and I do a little bit longer mini reviews on my channel. They randomly pop up. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do that and hit that notification bell so that you can get notified of when those guys pop up. I also post them into my Discord. But yeah, I love to showcase indie books. Even if I don't enjoy them, there's usually some things that I can find enjoyable about them that maybe they're more your taste. That's like with any of these that are down here. They're just, most of them, not my taste. You might enjoy them more. If the base synopsis sounded interesting to you, there you go. But that is the indie books that I read this year so far. And yeah, let me know if any of these piqued your interest, if you want to check them out, or if you've read them and what your thoughts were. Cool. And you can always put more books into the viewer pool. If you are an indie author, you want me to read your book, you can put it in the viewer pool, or you can commission me to read it. I have Ko-fi commissions are open, and that book immediately goes on my TBR. It's basically like the next book I read. It kind of inserts itself into whatever TBR I was in the middle of. So I will read that one for sure. So you can put that there, and yeah, that's what we got. Or you can just recommend me once, and I'll just throw on my TBR. We'll see how they happen. Okay, I'm going to go now, and I hope you guys are enjoying Litmas. I will see you tomorrow. Bye! Oh my gosh. Sir? That was all my dice you just knocked over. It's always right when I start recording that he wants to play. He was dead asleep before this. We have to play with a Demogorgon. Yee! What are you doing? Bye! We decapitated the Demogorgon. Oh no! I don't know, but I don't have a cover art for Mirror Gaze. Let me just become a little thing. I wasn't obsessed with it or anything. You had to pick a noisy toy? Sorry if you can hear him just guzzling away all that water. Thirsty boy. Still going. You're making me thirsty, dude. Really? The Triceratops now? Giant Triceratops. Giant Triceratops from Costco. Wha-bam! Love it. We're gonna use our big girl brain. Use your big girl brain. That was for you, Lena. Oh, go get something else. Go get something else. I don't want to throw the piggy. The piggy makes this loud noise. The pig misses you, Lena. Next up, we have the crew